Today I will be reviewing a few fragrances from FREDERIC MALLE house, and this is the first video on my channel in that kind where I'm reviewing a single house fragrances. So for today I have 8. It will be in an intensity order, so I'm gonna start with the most fresh, crisp, light fragrances, and I'm gonna move on to the more intense and deep. The first one I'm gonna start with, called Eau de Magnolia, and I think this scent is gonna be just incredible for the spring-summer time. It's really citrusy, juicy, fresh, incredible fragrance. I really like it. It has bergamot, lemon, a little bit of grapefruit. I think it has patchouli and oak moss as well. Definitely the most juicy fragrance that I recently tried. If you're looking for something very fresh, citrus, juicy for the spring, summertime, definitely try this one called Eau de Magnolia. The second one is Passant. I actually fall in love with that fragrance this spring. And from all the fragrances I'm gonna mention today, this is probably the only one that I really want a full bottle of. It's very powdery, fresh, a little bit musky, floral scent. The most interesting thing about this one, it has a cucumber note. Here, cucumber, it's not the most attractive note in fragrances, but in this fragrance it's just incredible. If I try to describe it, it would be a very sweet, fresh, powdery cucumber, if it makes any sense. I think this note makes this fragrance to stand out, because if I imagine taking it out, I think it would be just another typical spring summer kind of fragrance, but this note makes it really unique. This note makes it really interesting. It gives me a little bit of a vibe of Guerlain's Champs-Élysées, if you know how that one smells. Not very similar, but they give me a similar vibe, and even though I'm happily own a Champs-Élysées bottle, I really want to get a bottle of Passant. The next one I'm going to talk about is Lipstick Rose, and I have been talking about this fragrance quite a bit in my channel. It's a very feminine, powdery, tender, beautiful rose fragrance. Though it has a note that I don't really like in fragrances, which is a little bit of a makeup note. If you don't mind these notes, or even you like them, Lipstick Rose is definitely the one to try. For me, this note sometimes is a bit overpowering, but if you love feminine, rose, powdery, a little bit creamy fragrances and you don't mind that lipstick note, get to smell Lipstick Rose. It's a great fragrance. Okay, before I start to talk about the next one, which is Iris Powder. Iris is probably one of the least favorite notes for me in fragrances in general. I really like the opening of this fragrance though. It has a bit of aldehydes, rose, violets, iris. The opening smells very nice to me, but as any iris fragrance, it becomes dry, super powdery. It has that makeup lipstick note, which is quite prominent in the fragrance, that's bothering me personally, and it reminds me a lot of Lipstick Rose, the fragrance I just mentioned before. They market it as a formal fragrance for like business women and stuff like that, and I really agree with that. It sounds really formal, appropriate. Don't mind this lipsticky makeup note in fragrances and you really like iris, definitely try this fragrance. The next fragrance is quite a famous one. It's called Musc Ravageur. Quite like musky fragrances from Narciso Rodriguez, but other than that, for me, it's very hard to find a musk fragrance that I would really like. This is a very dry, woody, ambery musk fragrance. It has some floral notes and patchouli, and it's really dry fragrance. To be honest, I don't really see this fragrance on a woman. For me, it leans a little bit more masculine, even though it has a lot of sweetness from the vanilla. If you like that sort of woody, dry, musk fragrances with a little bit of sweetness, definitely try Musc Ravageur. I think it's probably gonna make a good fragrance for men. The next one is probably the most famous one, and the one I just did a separate review on is called Portrait of a Lady, and it's very rich, dark, mysterious, rose scent. So the fragrance I mentioned before, Lipstick Rose, is a little bit lighter, more feminine, a creamy version, and Portrait of a Lady is much darker, more mysterious, much more intense. So here we're moving on to much more intense fragrances. It's intense, loud, rose fragrance. I actually know a few guys that really enjoy wearing this fragrance, even though it has rose, so it's not the most masculine note. So if you're interested in rose, intense, a little bit darker perfumes, try Portrait of a Lady, and don't be scared of the name. As I said, it appears to be quite unisex. Okay, the next one is the one I was really interested to smell. I really like the name. It calls Carno Flower. It sounded really intriguing to me. As the website says, it has the highest concentration of natural tuberose in perfume industry, so that was really interesting as well. Opens up with the intense citrusy green notes. There is a watermelon note in this fragrance, but don't imagine this red, sweet part of the watermelon. If you imagine that green part that you just break and you imagine it being super intense, probably that's the opening of this fragrance. Definitely a very strong tuberose fragrance. You feel this natural, intense, deep, prominent tuberose in there. So if you're a tuberose fan, you have to try this fragrance. Again, tuberose is not the note I personally love in fragrances. For me to love tuberose, it have to be really sweet, creamy tuberose. But in a Carnal Flower, it's very fresh, musky. It becomes tiny bit milky towards the dry down. In general, very intense tuberose fragrance. And finally, Superstitious is my favorite fragrance from this 8, and actually it's the only one fragrance I own a full bottle of. It's the very aldehydic, soapy, clean, loud, specific scent. I wouldn't classify it as deep fragrance. For me, it's very soapy, clean. It gives a little bit of a cold feeling when you apply it. It's very specific, it's very strong. Definitely don't blind buy this fragrance. For me, it's jasmine aldehydic smell. I don't really feel a lot of notes in there, but I absolutely adore this fragrance. Have to feel in a specific way to wear it. I don't wear it often at all, but when I'm wearing it, I'm feeling it. For me, it's the best soapy, clean fragrance on the market, even though I own few others and I consider them great fragrances, but for me, Superstitious is just number one when you talk about jasmine, clean, soapy kind of fragrance. So that's it for today, guys. Let me know if you want me to do a part 2 of this video. I love Frederic Malle, so I'm being more than happy to do that. Have a great day, and if you want to see more videos and you enjoy watching my channel, please make sure you subscribe, and see you soon.